Hi everyone, Leanne here from Jaded Blossom, and I have a fun dog Valentine Day card to share with you today. Hey, so I'm using Jaded Blossom's Gnome Dies Sweetheart Add Ons. They're Gnome Dies Easter Add Ons too. They're Ticket Book Dies. They're Gnome Dies Christmas Add Ons too. The Gnome Dies Meow Valentine stamp set and Xoxo stamp set with the outline dies. I put together this little dog gnome on the dog gnome assembly video. It will be linked in the description below. And I also use the Love Notes 6-inch pad from Doodlebug. So first I have a piece of Nina Solar White 80-pound cardstock cut at 4 by 5 1/4 inches. And this is going to be the inside layer of my card. And I'm just trying to figure out where I'm going to stamp the sentiment from Meow Valentine. Now all my die cutting today was done with my Anna Griffin Empress machine. I'm using a Misty to do this stamping. I'm working on a Stampin' Up pad. There we go. And you'll notice that I did cut this stamp apart. And you can see that it does go back together just fine. So, you know, if you're going to use your stamps more, if you do some stamp surgery, do that. So I'm just sort of lining this back up again and getting it in my Misty to stamp as straight as I can. So that is a 1-inch strip of paper from that Doodlebug Love Notes 6-inch pad. Now remember, you can use any Valentine's Day paper that you happen to have. This is just what I happen to be using. There we go. I used one of those Misty corners to get that lined up. So now I'm going to stamp that in VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. And I'll stamp it a couple of times just to make sure that it's nice and crisp. Remember, you don't want to press too hard. You're better off stamping multiple times and just pressing really lightly. Okay, so I'm also going to pull out a little piece of Paper Tray Ink craft cardstock, and I'm going to stamp the sentiment XOXO using the same VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. And I'll stamp it a couple of times, just in case when I'm doing my die cutting that I mess it up. Kind of, you know, so I have a backup, right? So there you go. And there is that sentiment now. So now I'm going to use the reverse cut. So what was left over when you cut, you know, use the outline die. And I'm just going to tape it in place, just so I know that that outline die will cut out perfectly. There we go. And then I'm going to tape it again, and I'm going to run it through my Anna Griffin Empress machine. There we go. So now I have a piece of Paper Tray Ink craft cardstock cut at 4.25 by 11. I'm scoring it at 5 1/2 inches with my Martha Stewart scoreboard on my Teflon bone folder. There we go. And I'm taking my ATG tape, and I'm going to add this white layer on the inside. Now, obviously, you could see stamping and you could write on craft cardstock. It's just what I like to do. Okay, there we go. And then I will add a 1-inch strip of that pattern paper from that 6-inch Love Notes Doodlebug pad to the inside. Just using that Stampin' Up pad just to get things straight. There we go. And I will cut the overhang with a pair of scissors. And then I will take this little piece of ephemera, and that is from the odds and ends from Doodlebug, the Lots of Love odds and ends. I love using odds and ends from Doodlebug to decorate the inside of my card. So I'm sticking that down with some Nouveau glue using my reverse tweezers. And this is another little piece of ephemera from that odds and ends package, the Lots of Love. There we go. And I will cut the overhang off with a pair of scissors. You saw that I did weight it down for a little bit. I like to make sure things dry nice and flat, especially when I'm using glue. Okay, so I've just rescored that fold. And now I have a piece of paper from that same 6-inch pad cut at 1/8 of an inch smaller than an A2 size card base. And I'm using my Nouveau glue to add that to the front of my card. It's a nice, bold, flowery print, which is kind of fun. And I'm just going to try and get that lined up, and I will weight it down with an acrylic block just to make sure it dries nice and flat. Now I used Jaded Blossom's what is it called? My Ticket Book die, and I cut out the craft layer. You see that I didn't cut the whole thing out. I just want, you know, the border piece, right? And then I cut the little cloud layer out of that same Doodlebug Lots of Love 6-inch pad. Now I'm using a secure white jelly roll pen in a number 10 to add a few little highlights to these odds and ends just for fun. There we go. And I will color in this highlight here. And add a few freckles on that pink one. So, you know, just for fun. Now on the outside, I'm going to stick this ticket book now on the front of my card. It gives me a nice little nest, a little spotlight area to attach my gnome. Remember, when you're using a busy pattern, you want to have something a little bit more solid to put your image on. It reads like a solid, even though it is, you know, a cloud print. So now I'm going to glue this little doggy down on that cloud print. Remember, you can see me put that together on the Gnome Die Dog assembly video. So check that out, and it will be linked in the description box below. So now I'm taking some Stampin' Up! Dimensionals, and I'm just going to pop up that heart-shaped balloon, just because the paper is a little bit thicker where the dog is, and I didn't want the balloon to dip down. There we go. And everything that I used to make this card today will be listed on my blog, so check that out. So I did go ahead and I cut the outline of that XOXO a few more times out of that paper tray and craft cardstock. And I'm just going to stack that up so I get a nice dimensional sentiment. That's another nice thing about the outline dies, you know, from Jaded Blossom. You could use that, you know, to give you your dimension. Now, I could have cut foam strips, but that would have been a real pain, right? That's a skinny little sentiment. So now I am going to add my top layer on using my reverse tweezers. And I do weight that down as well. So now I'm going to stick down my little XOXO sentiment on the front. Just trying to decide where it's going to go, and there it is. It's kind of fun, right? And I'm pulling out shape sprinkles from Doodlebug. These are Lots of Love shape sprinkles. And I'm going to use the red hearts, and I'm going to sprinkle a few on my background. I'm just using a pen blade to pick them up while I decide where to put it. Remember, I always try to go for visual triangles and odd numbers, just because I think that looks the best. There we go. So I'm just going to add 2 more down here in this corner, and then we will call it done. Isn't that cute? So thank you so much for stopping by. Be sure to hop on over to the Jaded Blossom blog, be inspired by the team. The Jaded Blossom store to get your hands on these amazing products. Remember, you can check out the whole recipe over on my blog, everything that I used. And remember that that dog assembly video will also be linked underneath the description. Thanks, everybody. Bye.